The heart of London pulsed under a steel grey sky, the autumn air sharp with the bite of November 2025. Buckingham Palace loomed over its crowded courtyard, its golden stone facade, a silent witness to centuries of triumphs and tragedies. The cobblestones, worn smooth by countless footsteps, hummed with the energy of tourists, a kaleidoscope of languages, flashing cameras, and the laughter of children chasing pigeons. Above the chatter, a distant busker's drumbeat echoed, its rhythm like a heartbeat, quickening the pulse of the moment. In this historic arena, where royalty and ritual reigned, a clash was brewing, a collision of ego and discipline that would shock the world and leave a courtyard of strangers stunned into silence. Ryan Chen, a 32-year-old martial arts sensation from California, strutted through the crowd, his presence as loud as the neon tracksuit that hugged his chiseled frame. A gold Rolex gleamed on his wrist, catching the weak sunlight, while his sneakers, custom-designed, limited edition, squeaked against the stones. Ryan was a star, undefeated in the cage, untouchable on Instagram, where his 2 million followers worshipped his every spinning kick and cocky smirk. His entourage trailed him like a comet's tail. A videographer named Jake, his camera rolling to capture Ryan's latest stunt. A publicist named Mia, her phone glued to her ear, pitching the next viral moment. And a pair of gym buddies, their biceps straining under tight shirts, hyping Ryan's every move. "This is it, bro," Jake said, adjusting his lens. "Buckingham Palace, you're gonna break the internet." Ryan grinned, his teeth flashing. They ain't ready for this. Across the courtyard, framed by the palace's iron gates, stood William Harrington, a 28-year-old royal guard in the Queen's Guard. His scarlet tunic was pristine, his bearskin hat a towering symbol of tradition, his posture rigid as stone. To the tourists snapping photos, he was a prop, a relic of pageantry, his face an unreadable mask beneath the hat's shadow. But William was no performer. He was a soldier, forged in the crucible of conflict. Afghanistan's dust-choked valleys, Syria's shattered streets. His chest bore no medals today, but his body carried scars. A jagged line across his ribs from an IED blast, a faint burn on his forearm from a firefight that claimed his best mate. William's eyes, a steely gray, stared straight ahead, trained to ignore the jeers, the taunts, the endless clicks of cameras. Duty was his anchor, discipline his shield. The seeds of this moment had been planted weeks earlier in a Los Angeles gym where Ryan, sweat-soaked and triumphant, after another knockout, scrolled through his phone. A fan's comment caught his eye. "Bet you couldn't take a royal guard. Those guys don't move." Ryan laughed, the idea sparking like flint. "A guard, man. I'd spin kick that hat off and have him begging for a selfie." The comment went viral, racking up likes, retweets, and challenges. Mia, ever the opportunist, saw dollar signs. "Do it, Ryan," she urged. "Go to London. Make it a stunt. We'll trend worldwide." Jake pitched in, envisioning slow-motion shots of Ryan's kick, the hat flying, the crowd roaring. By the time Ryan boarded his first-class flight to Heathrow, the plan was set. Confront a guard, stage a viral moment, cement his legend. William, meanwhile, had no inkling of the storm approaching. His morning had begun at dawn in the Wellington barracks, where he polished his boots with ritual precision, each stroke a meditation on duty. He thought of his father, a factory worker who had taught him the value of quiet strength, and his mother, who had wept when he deployed to Afghanistan at 19. He thought of his squad mates, their faces etched in memory, especially Tom, who had taken the brunt of that IED. His laughter silenced forever. William's service was not for glory, it was for them, for the oath he had sworn, for the country that stood behind him. As he marched to his post at Buckingham Palace, the weight of his bearskin hat was nothing compared to the weight of his purpose. The courtyard buzzed with life as Ryan and his crew pushed through the crowd, their energy cutting through the tourist chatter like a blade. A Chinese couple paused their selfie, sensing the shift in the air. A Brazilian teenager, live streaming on TikTok, swiveled her phone toward Ryan, her followers spiking by the second. A retired London cabbie, leaning on a cane, muttered to his wife, "Who's this flashy git?" A journalist from the Times, stationed nearby for a fluff piece on tourism, perked up, her instincts tingling. Ryan's entourage carved a path to the front, Jake's camera rolling, Mia's voice hissing, "Make it quick. Ryan, we've got 10 minutes before security notices." Ryan cracked his knuckles, his eyes locking onto William, who stood motionless, a red and black pillar against the palace's grey stone. Ryan's heart raced, adrenaline pumping as he sized up the guard. He saw a statue, a challenge, a prop for his next million likes. He didn't see the soldier, the survivor, the man who had stared down death and walked away. "Yo, let's make history," Ryan said, flashing a grin to Jake's camera. The crowd, sensing a spectacle, began to close in. Phones raised, voices hushed. The busker's drumbeat faltered, the rhythm breaking as he too turned to watch. The Brazilian teenager whispered to her live stream, "This guy's gonna do something crazy." The journalist, her notebook open, scribbled, "American provocateur, Palace Guard, confrontazione imminente." With a swagger that had won him championships, Ryan stepped forward, his sneakers scuffing the cobblestones. He spun on his heel, his body a blur of practiced grace, and launched a spinning heel kick, aiming for William's bearskin hat. The move was textbook, a flourish that had dazzled arenas from Vegas to Tokyo. The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath as Ryan's foot sliced through the air. Crack! The kick connected, not with William's face, but with the edge of the hat, sending it tumbling to the ground in a puff of dust. The bearskin rolled, a black fur crown on the cobblestones, and for a heartbeat, the world froze. The Chinese couple dropped their selfie stick, their mouths agape. The Brazilian teenager's live stream exploded with emojis' shocked faces. Fire, skulls. The cabbie's wife clutched his arm, whispering, "He's done it now." The journalist's pen raced, her pulse pounding. Ryan landed, his smirk wide, his arms raised in triumph. "That's how we do it," he shouted, turning to Jake's camera, expecting cheers, like the roar of a digital crowd. But the courtyard was silent, the air thick with something heavier than anticipation, dread. William Harrington's eyes, those steely grey orbs that had seen hell and held steady, locked onto Ryan's with a precision that cut through the bravado. It was not anger in his gaze, nor surprise, but something colder, deeper. A predator sizing up prey. Ryan's smirk faltered, a flicker of unease creeping into his chest. He had expected a reaction, laughter, shock, maybe a flinch. He hadn't expected this, a stare that stripped him bare, that saw through the Rolex, the tracksuit, the Instagram crown. William's body remained still, his training a steel cage around his instincts. But his mind was already moving, calculating, deciding. The crowd held its breath, phones trembling in hands, eyes darting between the fallen hat and the guard's unyielding stare. Mia, her phone still pressed to her ear, hissed, "Ryan, get out of there." Jake, his camera shaking, muttered, "This ain't good." Bro, the Brazilian teenager's followers hit 10. Zele. Her whispered commentary, a frantic, "He's not moving. Oh my God, he's not moving." The journalist, her story shifting from fluff to front page, wrote, "Guard's response will define this moment." The cabbie, his voice low, said, "That lad's about to learn a lesson." Then, in a blur of brutal efficiency, William moved, his training honed in the chaos of war, refined in the discipline of the palace, kicked in like a machine. He stepped forward, his boots cracking against the stone, closing the 5-foot gap in a single stride. Ryan, caught off guard, tried to pivot, his championship instincts flaring. He threw a jab, a move that had felled opponents in seconds. seconds. William didn't flinch. His left arm shot up, deflecting the punch with a parry that was more instinct than thought. His right hand gripped Ryan's wrist, twisting it with surgical precision, forcing Ryan's arm behind his back. Ryan gasped, his confidence crumbling as pain flared through his shoulder. He tried a low kick, aiming for William's knee. But the guard was already moving, his body a study in controlled power. William sidestepped, his free hand clamping onto Ryan's collar. And with a single, fluid motion, he swept Ryan's legs from under him. The martial arts star hit the ground hard, the air rushing from his lungs in a choked grunt. The crowd gasped again, a wave of shock rippling outward. William didn't pause. He dropped to one knee, pinning Ryan to the cobblestones, his forearm pressing just hard enough to immobilize, not injure. The entire sequence parry, twist, sweep, pin took less than 4 seconds. The courtyard erupted in a cacophony of sounds, gasps, murmurs, the click of cameras. The Brazilian teenager's scream of "no way." Jake's camera wobbled, his voice is shaky. "Holy Ryan, you okay?" Mia, her call dropped, stood frozen, her face pale. The Chinese couple, their selfie, forgotten, stared in awe, their hands clasped. The cabbie chuckled, "Allo," knowing sound, and muttered, "Told you." The journalist, her notebook nearly full, wrote, "Guard's response, swift, surgical, undeniable." Ryan, his cheek pressed to the cold stone, struggled to breathe, his mind reeling. This wasn't a cage. This wasn't a stunt. This was real. William's voice, low and steady, cut through the chaos. "You picked a fight," he said, his words measured, each one landing like a hammer. With someone trained for life and death, his forearm eased slightly, allowing Ryan to suck in a ragged breath. But his grip remained firm, a reminder of control. When you've seen bombs explode feet away, a kick to the face. He paused, his eyes never leaving Ryan's. Just another Tuesday. The words were not cruel, not mocking, but a statement of fact, a glimpse into a world Ryan had never known. A world of sand and blood, of comrades lost, of survival earned through grit and sacrifice. Ryan's eyes, wide with shock, met William's, and for the first time, he saw the man beneath the uniform, not a prop, not a statue, but a soldier who had walked through fire and come out still. The Rolex, the tracksuit, the followers, they meant nothing here. Ryan's chest heaved, his pride shattered. But something else stirred within him, a flicker of understanding, a dawning respect. He had built his life on performance, on the roar of crowds. But this man, this guard, lived for something greater: duty, honor, the quiet strength that needed no applause. The crowd, their phones still raised, began to shift. The Chinese couple, their awe turning to reverence, lowered their cameras, their hands touching in silent agreement. The Brazilian teenager, her live stream now at 50 viewers, whispered, "He's a real hero." The cabbie's wife, tears in her eyes, said, "That's what a soldier looks like." The journalist, her story taking shape, wrote, in seconds, a brash champion was humbled, and a guard became a legend. Jake, his camera, steadying, zoomed in on Ryan's face, capturing the moment his arrogance crumbled. Mia, her plans in ruins, slipped her phone into her pocket, her ambition silenced by the weight of the moment. William rose, releasing Ryan with a final, measured look. He stepped back, retrieving his bearskin hat from the ground, brushing it clean with a gloved hand. With the same precision that had felled Ryan, he replaced the hat, adjusted his tunic, and resumed his post, his posture as rigid as before. The crowd watched, spellbound, as if witnessing a ritual, a restoration of order. Ryan, still on the ground, pushed himself to his knees, his breath shallow, his eyes fixed on William. For the first time in years, he felt small, not in stature, but in spirit. He rose slowly, his entourage rushing to his side, but he waved them off, his gaze never leaving the guard. The courtyard began to stir, the tourists resuming their chatter, the pigeons fluttering back to the stones. But the air was different, charged with a new understanding. The Chinese couple, their trip forever marked, vowed to tell their children of the guard who stood unmoved. The Brazilian teenager, her live stream ending, posted a caption, "Respect the real warriors." The cabbie and his wife, their thermos packed away, walked hand in hand, their faith in tradition renewed. The journalist, her story filed, knew it would dominate tomorrow's headlines. Viral stunt gone wrong. Guard teaches champion. A lesson in respect. Ryan, his entourage, trailing, walked away from the palace, his head bowed. Jake, still filming, asked, "You good, man?" Ryan didn't answer. He thought of his trophies, his highlight reels, his carefully curated image. They felt hollow now, like props in a play he no longer believed in. He thought of William, of the scars he couldn't see, of the wars he hadn't fought. For the first time, Ryan wanted to be more, not for likes, but for himself. He stopped, turning back to the palace, where William stood, a sentinel in scarlet. Ryan nodded, a small, private gesture, and whispered, "Thank you, William." Back at his post, felt the weight of the moment settle into his bones. He had acted on instinct, not anger, his training. A reflex honed by years of survival. He thought of Tom, whose laughter had been his anchor in the desert, and of his parents, who had taught him that true strength was quiet, unyielding. He thought of the oath he had sworn, not just to the crown, but to the ideals it represented. The crowd's eyes, still on him, felt different now, not mocking, but reverent. He stood taller, his scars a silent testament to the life he had chosen. As night fell, the courtyard emptied, the palace glowing under floodlights. The video, uploaded by Jake, spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views in hours. News outlets from CNN to BBC ran the story, their headlines a chorus of awe. Royal Guard humiliates martial arts star. Buckingham Palace showdown goes viral. Comment section exploded with debates. Was Ryan a fool or a victim? Was William a hero or a bully? But beneath the noise, a quieter truth emerged. Respect is earned, not demanded, and true warriors carry their strength in silence. The Chinese couple, back in Beijing, shared the video with their friends, their voices hushed with wonder. The Brazilian teenager, now an influencer, used her platform to honor soldiers worldwide. The cabbie, in his local pub, raised a pint to the lad in red. The journalist, her story, a career-defining hit, wrote a follow-up on the guard's unseen sacrifices. Ryan, in his London hotel, watched the video on loop, each viewing a lesson in humility. He posted a statement, his first without Mia's polish. "I was wrong. Respect to the real fighters." His followers, stunned, began to see him anew. William, in the barracks, faced his mate's questions with a quiet smile. "Why'd you move?" Harrington, one asked. "Because he needed to learn," William said, his voice steady. That night, he polished his boots, the ritual grounding him. He thought of Tom, of his parents, of the stranger who had challenged him, and, in doing so, reminded him of his own strength. He was no hero, just a man doing his duty. But the world had seen, and the world had remembered, in the shadow of Buckingham Palace, where history and humanity collide. One moment had changed everything. It had stripped away pretense, revealed the truth, and reminded a watching world that respect is not a prize to be won, but a lesson to be learned. Some encounters fade, lost to the churn of time. But this one, born of a brash kick and a soldier's response, would echo forever. A challenge to see beyond the uniform, to honor the unseen, to question what we think we know. The screen fades to black, with white text glowing. Respect is earned, not demanded. Would you have seen beyond the uniform? Share your thoughts. Follow for more stories. that challenge the heart and mind. A soft drumbeat fades, leaving silence.